Good morning, children. I hope you have seen the previous video of the president chapter, and I hope so people have understood what is the president all about, right? President is one of the most important constituent of the Indian Parliament. The Indian Parliament is comprises of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the president. Without president, Indian Parliament can never be formed, or without any of the houses missing, children, the parliament can never be formed, especially the union parliament. Union parliament consisted of, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the president. Right, children? So here, president, sign the law and it becomes an act. That's why all three constituents are important in Indian parliament. And obviously, as everyone knows, our country is a parliamentary form of government. That means over here the real head of the nation is the PM with his council of minister, and obviously the executive order, obviously it is passed by the president. Right, children? So I hope so in the previous video people have understood how the president appoints, what are the qualification, disqualification, right, children, and plus why what is the term of the office of the president, right, children, and plus the impeachment, the process of removal. And always remember, children, president is being removed, and removal means it is being discussed in both the houses of the parliament with the two-thirds of majority, right, children? But prime minister removal can never take place. Why? Because prime minister is dissolved, right? Dissolution here means, that means alone Lok Sabha can pass the vote of no confidence against the PM, and the whole house can be dissolved, right, children? So please don't get confused with this. So now is this video is in continuation. I'm again starting with the president now, more points related to the president, so that you can understand well, right? So let's start now. Here, the vacancy in the office of the president. How come the president office fall vacant? Vacant means, the seat fall vacant means empty, right, children? So how come the presidential seat falls empty, right? And which candidates can come in his place? Or maybe there are reasons that president has to vacate, has to leave his chair, has to leave his post, right? So here are the conditions, children. Here, the very first thing, the expiration, when his term is expired. By reason of death, obviously. The reason of resignation, if he has given the resignation, children, I have already explained you, he has given the resignation, he can give his resignation to Vice President of India. Then removal by impeachment, might be possible impeachment takes place against him. Impeachment means removal, and you know the process. I've already discussed in the previous video. And next, the president continues to hold office. A very important thing, children. The president continues to hold office until the successor enters upon this office. Right, children? So here the president term is 5 years. He can hold office up to 5 years. After his expiration of the term, he needs to wait for his successor, children. And the moment the successor comes, he has to leave his post. Right, children? Let's move on to the next slide. Now, indirect election. Everyone knows president election is an indirect one. Indirect, children. Here the public, elect the representatives. Right, children? And representatives elect the president of India. So I hope so people are not confused with this. Direct election always takes place in case of PM or in case of Lok Sabha, children. And indirect elections takes place in case of Rajya Sabha and the president. Right, children? So direct election, here public elect directly, and indirect election means public needs to elect some representatives, right? And those representatives elects the president of India. Right, children? So here, let's see now why, and here I'm trying to explain you why the elections of president is always an indirect one. Why they never involve public directly over here. So here are the reasons, children. Let's see. The power resided in the Council of Ministers headed by the PM. The very first thing, Constitution always cleared this. Here the real power lies with the PM of India. Right, children? With this Council of Ministers. The moment the PM is formed in the Lok Sabha, he formed his Council of Ministry. Right. Next, the framer of the constitution wanted the presidential election to remain a quiet and dignified affair. Now here the constitution makers, those who are like everyone knows in class 9, we have already discussed, the Constituent Assembly framed the Constitution of India, children. The members who are coming from all parts of India. So they wanted to keep this as a quiet and dignified affair. Quiet and dignified affair means they wanted to, leave from all those, chaos and confusions, from all those, show off, right? They wanted to keep it quiet. Right, in the contrary, if you see the PM elections, the prime minister's elections, which are direct one, here all over you can see the chaos and the confusions, and whole thing that really make this process quite a show off process, right, children? But here they wanted to keep presidential election as a quiet and a dignified affair. Next, it would be difficult to provide electoral machinery for an election. Then, children, there it would be really difficult to provide electoral machinery. Electoral machinery means election voting machine, children. EVMs, basically, they are known as EVMs, right, children? So here, it's very difficult for them to provide the electoral machinery for all the public. Obviously, they are providing in case of PM. Always prime minister's elections, always a direct one, so public has to participate. So they are providing EVMs for this, but now obviously it add expenses to the treasury of the government if they provide this electronic voting machines to the public in case of presidential elections. So they just want to cut down the cost. Now next, a direct election would be placed too much of power in the hands of the masses. Now, children, constitution, they have already given us the power. They already given the power to the public to elect the PM of India, like to elect the Prime Minister of India. So here public has a right to vote. Obviously, preamble always starts with "We the people of India," right, children? I hope so people have remembered in class 9th. Right. So here the constitution makers wanted it to keep it a quiet and dignified affairs, children, and plus they don't want to place too much of power in the hands of the public. If public elects president also, then what will be the work of the representatives which public have elected? Right, children? So here they don't want to, constitution itself doesn't want to place too much of power in the hands of the public. Right, children? Already public is electing the PM of India and already public is forming the Lok Sabha. Right? Let's move on to the next slide. Now, manner of election. Now, very important part of this chapter, children, how the elections takes place now through electoral college. Here the presidential elections, the manner, the representatives are known as electoral college, right? They constitute the electoral college. Electoral college means here the elected member of both the houses of the parliament, that means Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, will come and contest the presidential election, and plus the members of state legislative assembly will also come along with the member of parliament to elect the president of India. Always remember that, children. See, state have two houses. First is assembly, state legislative assembly. Another is state legislative council. But in case of presidential election, they always take one house. That means that is a public body, that is state legislative assembly, and that is enough, right? So that means presidential election, president is elected by the members of the parliament also and members of the state also. So quite a big task, children, and quite, it's not very easy. Why? Because it is an indirect election, right? All members are coming together, right? And member of both the houses of the parliament plus the member of state legislative assembly members may come together and form and elect the president of India. Now, see, consisting of elected member of both the house of parliament, elected members of the legislative assembly of the state. Now, how he is being elected? Because obviously here universal adult franchise cannot be practiced. Universal adult franchise, children, that means adult, you should be an adult and have to have an age of 18 years in case of females and 21 years in case of males, right, children? Then only you will be called as an adult. Now here they need adult in case of direct election, but this election is an indirect one. So indirect elections, how it takes place, children? Quite a different procedure as compared to universal adult franchise. Here it takes place with the help of single transferable vote system, right? And how come? Election is by secret ballot according to the system of proportional representation. This means proportional representation. I'm going to explain you what is it, class children. All the candidates are listed and the electoral gives them number according to his preference. See, if you see presidential post for contesting the presidential post, there are candidates which are more than 4 to 5 candidates that can come and fight for presidential elections, children. Always remember. So obviously now if they are now they need to be now voted. Now all these candidates, suppose there are 5 candidates and they all need to be voted by the members of the parliament and plus state legislative assembly. Now their names are in the ballot, right? Their names are in the paper and these papers needs to be presented to all the member of the parliament and plus state legislative assembly members. Now on this paper, right, they have to give the preference. Now if there are suppose 4 to 5 candidates, they need to give the preference now, whom they wanted first, whom they wanted to give the priority, right? And priority wise they arrange the candidates in order, right, children? This way the voting takes place. Now then the elector shall place figure 1 opposite the name of the candidate whom he chooses for his first preference. and may mark as many preferences as he wishes. See here, by mistake HO is written. Over here it's written he. Right children? So don't get confused now. So electoral shall place figure 1 opposite the name of the candidate whom he chooses for his first preference and may mark as many preferences as he wishes. Right children? Suppose 4 candidates and he wanted to elect, he wanted to select the 4th candidate. So he can place the 4th candidate at number 1. Right? He can mark number 1 and opposite of it he can place the 4th candidate. Right? Because according to him he wanted to give this 4th candidate the priority, the first priority children. Next, now by placing the figure 2, 3, 4 and so on opposite the names of other candidates. Right children? Ballot paper is not invalidated in case the voter fails to mark all preferences. Suppose 4 candidates are there, but member of the parliament, state legislative assembly members have given the preferences to only 3 candidates, so it doesn't matter. Right children? But they need to give the preferences, right, according to the priority. Right children? And this way the voting takes place. The voting is quite different what the voting is in case of Prime Minister of India. Right children? Because Prime Minister's elections are always direct one. Here public vote, right, and the candidate can cast a single vote and the vote takes place and the voting takes place. Right children? But here it's quite different. Right? They are being elected through single transferable vote system with a manner of proportional representation, and here I've already explained you what is it all about. Then oath and disputes children. Now here, before entering upon the office of the president, he has to make an oath in the presence of Chief Justice of India. Always remember children, if president once he is elected as a president of India, he needs to take an oath in presence of Chief Justice of India. Right children? And here Chief Justice of India, always Chief Justice of India is there in presence of the president so that he can take an oath. Obviously he needs to be truthful. He has to be he needs to maintain the dignity of the house, because presidential post is quite a big post. It is a big post obviously, and president has to work in coordination with the PM and his council children. So obviously he has to be very, very careful. Next, all doubts and disputes in connection with the election of president or vice president are inquired into and decided by the Supreme Court. Right children? And there are disputes, and suppose elections various differences may occur, so these differences can be solved by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is the final court, right? And this court can solve the disputes. Right children? And always remember, the decision of the Supreme Court is final, and Supreme Court is the one who can solve the disputes, the matter which is involved regarding the elections of the president of India. So I hope so people have understood how the president is being elected, what are the criteria, what is the criteria, what are the qualifications, and what are the disqualifications. So for this you need to listen to both the videos very carefully, then only you will come to know. Right? And don't get confused regarding the elections of the president of India. It's quite a big, it's quite different what we have in case of prime minister. Right? These presidential elections can take place in the form of what children? In the form of proportional representation. That means they need to give the preference wise voting to the candidates, to the presidential candidates. Right children? And I've already explained you how the voting takes place. And here how the president is being appointed by the elected members of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha plus the state legislative assembly members. Always remember, so that means president is being elected by the members of the members of the parliament, the union parliamentary members and the state parliament members. That means in the election of the president, both union government and state government have a big role to play with. Right children? So I hope so you people have understood. So you all may clear your doubts also after listening to all these both videos. Right children? Till then, thank you.